I'm here to talk about Honkai Star Rail 2nd anniversary livestream and what does it really mean for the future of the game, and some other interesting thoughts I have as to why they choose to move forward with what they did. Now, I'm not really here to beat a dead horse, so I'm not really gonna dig too much into the details of the live stream, but basically the live stream can be broken down into 3 parts. They give us very calculated rewards so players don't get upset, setting a new precedent of how they monetize characters, in Castorice being the first character to have an account-wide passive by just owning her, as well as having a whole dedicated whaling event and more ways for whales to spend more money on the game. Secondly, the rewards. As it is with hoyoverse and a lot of other big gacha games, the rewards are very calculated. They introduce a whale feature where wherever you pull past C6 of a 5-star character, you start to get this currency that then you can use 2 of to choose one of currently either Ron May or Luochia. As for the rewards part, they're giving every player one of those tokens. And this might seem so generous of them to give everyone this token so they can get a Ron May. And that's great and all, until you realize Ron May is the most owned limited 5-star character in the game, besides Dr. Ratio, which was literally given out for free for just logging on. As I mentioned, it's all calculated. Now, I'm not really gonna dig any deeper than that. And finally, the real content of the patch was pretty much them announcing content for future patches, like balancing alt characters. Why do we have to wait many patches after the anniversary patch to even get that? I can promise you they could have introduced them with the anniversary patch. Like the new blade that just released is literally as good as an E6 blade. Let that sink in for a moment. So there's a very real reason I effectively quit this game over a year ago. Now, let's move all that aside and analyze what really is going on with the game. Aside from the egregious power creep that's been present in the game, that, by the way, I'm not surprised at all, and it's one of the reasons why I quit. Because the way that Honkai Star Rail works, it is a turn-based game, and they release 2 new 5-star limited characters every single patch. It was bound that this simply would happen. Let's take Genshin Impact as an example, the same developer hoyoverse's prior title, and let's compare the amount of limited 5-star characters that have been released in the game since their launch. With Genshin Impact being out for almost 2 times as long as Honkai Star Rail has been out, it barely has more 5-star limited characters than Honkai Star Rail right now. And it was only bound that power creep problems would get that much worse, because the rate at which 5-star characters are released is nearly double. So there isn't as many 4-star characters and 4-star weapons to compensate, and the game would have naturally suffered less from power creep, at least in my opinion. Maybe it being a turn-based game would have still caused this egregious power creep, but I guess we'll never know. So I believe there's a couple of things at play to why Honkai Star Rail ended up the way it did. One of those things is that hoyoverse is the top dog of gacha at the moment, at least in their specified niches, and so they're the ones to set precedent and the standard. Whatever they do, their competition will either adapt or try to improve to capitalize on players who are dissatisfied. And this is exactly what's going on right now. And why do I say this? Let's imagine what Honkai Star Rail revenue really looks like, and the picture will start to become clear. Major part of revenue is from China, and of course global. But let's not forget, for most gacha games, the largest contributor by a mile is Japan, making up probably half or even more of the global revenue, meaning that the West, people that are mostly outraged and upset at these changes, are the minority of the revenue, which could be around 20%. And let's be fair here, there's probably people that are upset in China and Japan about these changes. So let's add another 10%. That means that hoyoverse might potentially lose 30% of their existing income from those players. But let's be more realistic. Even if a lot of those people are upset they're still likely to keep playing the game and spending on the game. They might spend and play less, but they're probably still going to contribute to their revenue. And in turn, with these predatory practices, they're able to extract more money from their large spenders, which are usually from China and Japan. And on top of that, they seem generally fine with these practices of selling characters, implementing passives that are account-wide, regardless if the character is in your team, and the spending event. Because of course they'd be more happy for getting more free stuff for the money they're already going to spend anyways. And the unfortunate reality is, from those 30%, even if everyone in that group stops spending money and playing the game, they'd lose 30% of the current revenue that they would easily make up with the new predatory practices from the existing 70%. They might even double or triple that revenue in some cases. Now let's not forget, this is a short-term gain, and there's more reasons as to why they would have decided to do this. And in my opinion, it is very obvious that hoyoverse is aware that they're about to have a lot of competition in their industry. This will fragment the player base, making the players' time and money more valuable, meaning that they will need to spend more money and resources to make that same amount of profit in the future, as well as the recent regulations in the EU that are most definitely only the start, and there will be more regulations for gacha games. And there's one more important factor, that they already have competition with Genshin Impact in Weathering Waves, which is very positively received in the West, conveniently the market that these predatory practices alienates. And now it starts to make even more sense. If you really think about it, if hoyoverse wanted to compete for the Western player base, they are likely to lose potential profit in their more profitable demographics. And now they also need to compete with a developer that currently has the reputation of listening to the players, implementing their changes and feedback, as well as making some more player-friendly choices compared to hoyoverse, like the 100% weapon banner, and being able to buy 2 constellations in the shop on the banner character. Knowing all of these factors, I think it actually makes a whole lot of sense why hoyoverse did what they did. In a sense, this is a final squeeze for a market that they've so heavily dominated over the past 5 years that is about to get a whole lot more competitive. And also some of their current decisions might influence how those upcoming competitors would monetize their game, meaning that all of them would just end up making more money at the expense of the player. So this could also be a strategy of them trying to shape their competition so that they would not lose as much profit in the future. And the very final aspect of this, the community. I think we've all seen what happened to Genshin Impact. It has pretty much become a toxic positivity bubble, which has alienated all the players who really cared and saw the potential of what the game could have been, since they ended up giving up on it. And unfortunately, I believe that Honkai Star Rail is going to end up the exact same, consisting of regular people, casuals, and people with large time and or money investment. People with lack of self-control. And that's exactly what hoyoverse is targeting. That's exactly why they're alienating gamers and people who want to see the game's potential executed. Because in reality, that player base is simply not large enough, and compared to their target audience, is niche, not to mention the amount of time and resources it would take to please those players. They would rather contribute that budget to new games and repeat the cycle all over again. And also, you might have noticed with Zenless Zone Zero, it's starting to fall apart. People just don't care as much, because again, it's just the same formula, and we all know that the majority of the gacha players are reoccurring gacha players, meaning they've already played gacha games in the past. And in the hoyoverse ecosystem, it's very likely that they've played one or both of their previous titles, and a large portion of their players who would play them are either stuck in Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail. They wouldn't feel compelled to play their other games because they're satisfied with where they are currently. And this might be another reason why Hoyoverse is so much more egregious with Honkai Star Rail, as it feels like the perfect game where they could be more predatory, as it is a turn-based game. And Genshin Impact is already so iconic that it is better for them not to even touch it. Now, where do I think Hoyoverse is heading? With their next installment in their gacha game series being an Animal Crossing-like game, I'm fairly certain that they will continue to capitalize on new niches with their gacha formula for the coming years. However, Hoyoverse isn't stupid. They understand that there will be better games in the industry, and if they stay as they are currently, they will sooner or later fade into obscurity. So I believe that they are working on next generation gacha games. So in the meantime, they're just going to keep capitalizing on niches and printing money using their existing gacha formula. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm curious to hear your opinion on this topic. And do you think Hoyoverse will continue to go down this path until they fade into obscurity? Or do you believe that that money is being used to develop next generation gacha games and maybe even games? If you want to see more content like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and that's all I got for you. See you.